topic of today is the comparative account of pelvic girdle in case of amphibia, birds and also the mammals, by taking one example from each class. It is from amphibia, frog, from Aves, pigeon, and from mammals, a rabbit is taken as an example. So since it is a pelvic girdle, we need to give comparative account of pelvic girdle in case of all these three classes. Before going to the topic, I wanted to throw some light on the osteology. Osteology, it is a branch of biology that deals with a scientific study of the structure and function of bones, or otherwise it is a branch of anatomy that deals with the detailed study of the structure and function of bones. The entire osteology or the skeletal system can be studied under two headings. The first one is the axial skeleton and the second one is the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton, as all of you know that, the axial skeleton comprises all these parts. So it is having total about 80 bones, and it is primarily it consists of the skull, continuation of the skull, that is the vertebral column, the backbone, thoracic cage comprises the ribs, and also a flat bone, that is the sternum. In addition, the ear ossicles. All this comprises the what is called as the axial skeleton. In the same way, the appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton is composed of about total number of bones in the appendicular skeleton is 126 bones, and it comprises both present in the anterior end as well as the posterior end. Whatever the girdles which are present at the anterior end of the body and the posterior end of the body, respectively, they are referred as the pectoral girdle and the pelvic girdle. Pectoral girdle along with the forelimb skeleton and the pelvic girdle along with the hind limb skeleton comprises the appendicular skeleton. So the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton together forms the entire skeletal system. Since our topic is on the pelvic girdle, we need to know some basic aspects about the girdles. The pectoral girdle is the anterior, at the anterior end you can see the pectoral girdle. So where the upper limb is articulated, so and it comprises three fundamental bones, that is clavicle, scapula and coracoid bones. So in all organisms, the pectoral girdle comprises three important bones, that is clavicle, scapula and coracoid. In the same way, the pelvic girdle, it is present at the posterior end of the body, okay, and this also comprises three fundamental bones, three important bones, that is ilium, ischium and pubis. These are the three important fundamental bones present in the pelvic girdle of all organisms. What is the function? Today's topic is the comparative account of pelvic girdle in case of the amphibia, Aves and also the mammals. So as far as the function of the pelvic girdle is concerned, pelvic girdle, since it is present at the posterior end of the body, it supports the trunk of the body, the abdominal cavity, and it supports the internal organs, the visceral organs of the body. It provides attachment for the lower limbs, and it plays a very important role where the appendicular skeleton always attaches, or it is in contact or is in continuation with the axial skeleton, so that it provides attachment for the lower limbs. That too, the hind limb bones are being attached to the pelvic girdle. Pelvic girdle protects the organs in the pelvic portions of the abdominopelvic cavity, that includes the urinary bladder, internal reproductive organs and the distal end of the alimentary canal or the digestive system. With this idea, let us pass on to today's topic, that is comparative account of pelvic girdle in case of amphibia, Aves and also the mammals, by taking one example from each class, that is frog, pigeon and also the rabbit. You can see all these three diagrams. This is the pelvic girdle of frog, pelvic girdle of the pigeon and pelvic girdle of the rabbit. As I told you in the beginning, so the pelvic girdle is made up of three fundamental bones, that is ilium, ischium and pubis. That can be seen in all these three. Okay, so this in case of frog, you can see these are the these two are the iliums, ischium and the pubis. In the same way, in case of the pigeon, ilium is occupies the largest portion, the anterior and the middle portion. This is ischium, and a small slender bone, what is called as the pubis. In case of rabbit, you can see at the anterior end there are two wing-like extensions having the facets for the articulation with the sacrum. These two bones are called as the ilium, and these two are the ischium. And there are two important bones. These two bones are called as the pubis. Both of them, they are united in order to form a structure what is called as pubic symphysis. So let us go by giving a comparative account. So since it is comparative anatomy, okay, we need to give the comparative account by taking each character. You have to take one character and you explain all this character in all these three. That is the frog, pigeon and also the rabbit. So the first character is the condition, general condition of the girdle. It is, in case of frog, it is bony as well as cartilaginous. It is made up of bony structure as well as cartilaginous, and it is well developed. Whereas in case of pigeon, it is bony, large, light in weight, because in case of birds, the bones are pneumatic. Pneumatic, it is they are filled with the air sacs or the pneumatic bones. They are well adapted for the flight and also meant for bipedal locomotion. In case of mammals, the condition is it is made up of bony, completely made up of the girdle is made up of the bones, large in shape. They are quite stouter in shape, and it is well adapted for fast running mode. The second point is the position of the body. So, as far as the pelvic girdle is concerned, invariably it occupies at the posterior end of the body. It occupies the posterior region, so the pelvic posterior region, and gives support to the pelvic region, and it is meant for the attachment of the hind limbs. The same way, it occupies the pelvic region and gives support to the legs, that to the hind limbs. So in case of mammals, it occupies the pelvic region and supports the hind limbs. The third point is the shape and halls. As far as the shape and halls are concerned, the shape, it varies in different members of the animals. Okay, in case of frog, it is V-shaped. And it is invariably made up of two halls. Okay, so both the halls are united in order to form a disc, what is called as pubic symphysis. Okay, so it is V-shaped, made up of two similar halls. Each hall is what is called as os innominatum, united posteriorly into the median disc. So in this disc, usually you can see the attachment of the hind limbs. So in case of pigeon, it is made up of two identical halls, the same thing. So each hall is what is called as scientifically designated as os innominatum, and it is completely separated, one on either side. In the same way, in case of rabbit, two identical halls, that is scientifically they are designated as os innominatum. They are firmly united mid-ventrally. So each hall, they are united mid-ventrally in order to form the pubic symphysis. That can be seen here. So both the pubis are united mid-ventrally in order to form what is called as structure pubic symphysis. The next point, the attachment with the vertebral column. As I told you, the appendicular skeleton is in continuation with the axial skeleton, so that it will be attached to the axial skeleton. So attachment with the vertebral column is a part of axial skeleton. Okay, so the pelvic girdle is attached to the vertebral column. Here the two limbs run parallel with vertebral column, while median disc support the last vertebra or the urostyle. This is very important, where you can see here is a diagram showing the pelvic girdle. This is a V shape. Here you can see. So these are the ilium. Both the iliums are present attached to the last vertebra, that is the ninth vertebra. The transverse processes of the ninth vertebra, so to which both the iliums are get attached along with the last rod-shaped bone, what is called as the urostyle. So the urostyle gets attached to the disc where both the os innominatums are attached. Okay, right. The next is, in case of pigeon, the attachment. As far as the attachment is concerned, they are attached firmly, fused with the synsacrum. This is another important aspect where, in case of birds, the entire skeletal system is modified in such a way that the bones are pneumatic. They are filled with hollow bones. They are filled with air sacs. Air sacs. This is one of the important adaptation in order to minimize the body weight. In order to minimize the body weight during, because birds are truly adapted for flying mode of flight. Right. So the synsacrum is the structure where we can see a part of the thoracic, lumbar, sacral and caudal vertebrae are fused in order to form a thin flat bone, what is called as synsacrum. On either side of the synsacrum, this the girdle is being attached and they are separated. So this is about the pigeon. And in case of the mammals, both the iliums are firmly articulated with the sacrum. That can be seen here. So here these are the iliums, the two wing-like extensions where you can see the facets, or these are the facets, articular surfaces, which provide space for the articulation of the sacrum, which is present at the end of the vertebral column. Right. The next is the bones. The bones which are present in case of the pelvic girdle. The pelvic, as I told you in the beginning, the pelvic girdle is made up of three fundamental bones, that is ilium, ischium and pubis. All these three bones are present in all three representative class. So you can see each half is designated as os innominatum, made up of ilium, ischium and pubis. So the same thing, the three elements, that is ilium, ischium, pubis, found in each os innominatum. And besides usual, in case of rabbit also, you can see the ilium, ischium and pubis. A fourth bone, that is in case of, especially this is important, where you can see the other bone in case of rabbit, where a small bone is present called as cartilaid bone. In addition to these three bones, there is another bone in case of rabbit, what is called as cartilaid bone. This can be seen here. This is present at this junction of ilium and the ischium. You can see a small bone, what is called as cartilaid bone. Right. The next is, let us get into one by one bone, that is the ilium, ischium and pubis. The first one is the ilium. So ilium forms the anterior long arm, that can be seen here. So these two are the iliums. Okay, or otherwise you can see. So these are also the iliums. Okay, there are two V-shaped extensions, the largest portion, the elongated portions, and they are characterized by having the blade-like structures, what is called as iliac crest, the iliac crest. So they forms the anterior long arm, the long arm resting on the transfer processes of the ninth vertebra. As I told you previously, both the iliums are attached to the transverse processes of the ninth vertebra, that is the last vertebra. Right. It forms the dorsal vertical blade-like structures because, as I told you, so they are on the dorsal side. You can see the blade-like extensions in the ilium. They are called as iliac crest. Iliac crest. Posteriorly, both ilia united in order to form the medium disc. What is called as this disc is what is called as iliac symphysis. Iliac symphysis. So both the iliums, they are attached here. Both the iliums. So each portions are called as os innominatum. Both the os innominatum, they are united here in order to form a disc called as iliac symphysis. Right. The next is in case of pigeon, ilium is a large plate-like it is a plate-like bone attached to the synsacrum, differentiated into pre and post acetabular part. This can be seen here. See, this is the ileum. It occupies the largest portion in the skeletal system. Okay, so this is ileum. So it occupies up to here. You can see. So this is the anterior portion and this is the posterior portion. So ileum, this is the anterior, and the largest portion of the synsacrum is occupied by the ileum. That can be seen here. It is a large plate-like attached to the synsacrum. It runs along with the synsacrum, differentiated into pre and post acetabular parts. So look at this. This is a acetabular port. This here is the acetabulum. The acetabulum is a cavity where the hind limb skeleton, the first bone of the hind limb skeleton, is being attached. Okay. So before the acetabulum portion is called as pre-ileum, pre and post acetabular ileum. So the ileum which is present before the acetabulum is called as pre-ileum, and next to the acetabulum, that is post-ileum, the post-acetabular ileum. Right. So in the same way, in case of rabbit, ileum is quite larger in size. Okay, raised into dorso-anterior iliac crest. Distal part is broad and articulates to the sacrum. This I told you. So they are two wing-like extensions. So they are called as both the bones are called as the ileum, and the ileum, they provide enough space for the attachment of the sacral vertebrates. The sacral vertebrates, and you can see there are facets for the attachment of the sacral bones. That is, articular surfaces can also be seen. Right. The next is the ischium. The bone ischium. Ischium is small, meeting with the fellow at the median vertical ischiatic symphysis in the posterior dorsal part of the skull. Here you can see. This is the ischium. In case of frog, the ileum followed by the ischium. This is the ischium. So it is present at the portion in order to where both the os innominatums are joined. Okay, so this portion, the anterior portion, is called as the ischium. So it is meeting with its fellow in the median vertical ischiatic symphysis in the posterior dorsal part of the disc. In case of the pigeon, so the ischium is somewhat broad, plate-like bone behind the acetabulum. It occupies behind the acetabulum. Here is the acetabulum. Just behind the acetabulum, you can see the ischium. The next is, in case of rabbit, ischium is posterodorsal, small, and it is flat. Ischium, in case of rabbit, it is posterodorsal. Here you can see, this is the ischium. This is the anterior endally, you can see this ileum, and posterior endally, this is the ischium. And it is quite flat, and it is a distinct bone. Right. Next is ilioischiatic foramen. Ilioischiatic foramen are nothing but they are the openings. They are the small openings present in the skull. Okay. So ilioischiatic foramen is absent in case of frog, and ilioischiatic foramen is present in case of pigeon. Pigeonally. So ilioischiatic foramen, that can be seen here. So this ilioischiatic foramen, so it clearly distincts or separates the bone. That is ilioischiatic foramen. Ilioischiatic foramen. So it always separates the ileum from the ischium. So ilioischiatic foramen, it is the portion, it separates ileum with that of the ischium. Okay, it's a small opening, what is called as ilioischiatic foramen. It separates ileum from that of ischium. Right. So this ilioischiatic foramen is present only in case of Aves, that is the pigeon, whereas it is absent in case of frog as well as rabbit. The next is, the last bone is the pubis. The pubis. Both the pubis are small, triangular and fuse at the mid-ventral in order to form the pubic symphysis. Here you can see, so this is the below bones. So these are somewhat triangular bones. They are united from both the ends. They are united in order to form the cavity what is called as the acetabulum. So both the pubis are here attached. Right. So the next is pigeon. Pubis is a thin, slender bone running backwards and parallel to the ventral edge of the ischium. Here you can see, in case of pigeon, a thin, slender, a long bone can be seen here. It runs from acetabular region. So a small, thin, small, elongated tube-like bone. It runs from acetabulum up to the posterior end of the body. So here one thing you can see, the obturator foramen. There are other openings here. The ischium and the pubis are separated by means of two openings called as obturator foramen. And one thing you need to observe here, ileum and ischium is separated by means of ilioischiatic foramen, and ischium and pubis, they are separated by means of opening called as obturator foramen. Right. Pubis in case of the pigeon, they are slender bone, long. So I told you this. Next, in case of rabbit, pubis is small, slender, ventromedial, and meets the other partner at a mid-ventral region in order to form the pubic symphysis. This can be seen here. Both the pubis, a small pubis, they are united in the mid-ventral portion in order to form a structure what is called as pubic symphysis. Yes, the next is obturator foramen. As I told you, it is present in case of the Aves. Obturator foramen, so is absent in case of frog, and it is present in pigeon. Ischium and pubis are separated by means of a notch or opening what is called as obturator foramen. In the same way, in case of rabbit, a large obturator foramen separates pubis and ischium. This can be seen here. So this is ischium and this is pubis. Ischium and pubis are separated by means of a small opening called as obturator foramen. Right. The next is acetabulum. This is the important portion of the pelvic girdle. Where you can see both os innominatum, they are united in order to form a disc. In the disc portion where all these three bones meet, that is the ileum, ischium and the pubis. Okay. So at that junction you can see a small cavity, what is called as acetabulum. It is very much present in all pelvic girdles. In any pelvic girdle you can see a cavity. So this cavity is designated as acetabulum. In case of frog, here you can see the acetabulum. In case of rabbit, you can see acetabulum here. And in case of the birds also, you can see the acetabulum here. Okay, acetabulum is a cavity. It's a cavity to which usually the first bone in the hind limb skeleton, that is the femur, the head of the femur, fits into this cavity. So this is a cavity to which the head of the first bone in the hind limb skeleton, the head of the bone fits into this cavity. So in order to form the ball and socket joint, so that the movement is possible in any direction. Okay, so this is basically due to this joint is what is called as the ball and socket joint. The ball and socket. This acts as the cavity. Acetabulum acts as a socket, and this the head of the femur acts as a ball. This joint is what is called as ball and socket joint. Okay, so this is very much present, and it is very important as far as the attachment of the hind limb skeleton is concerned. Hind limb skeleton always attaches to the pelvic girdle. In the pelvic girdle, there is a cavity which is designated as acetabulum, to which the hind limb skeleton is being attached. Right. So it is present on either lateral sides of the disc. It can be seen here. So this is present here. One is present here. On the other is present on that side. Okay. The same thing. So here you can see both the sides. So here this is one side. The other side one more is present. Okay. So since the paired hind limbs are present, so the each one will be attached to each acetabulum, which is present one on either side of the pelvic girdle. Right. So the same thing is explained here. The lateral disc present on either side, formed by all these three bones, that is ilium, ischium and the pubis, a cup-like depression, what is called as the acetabulum, to which the head of the femur fits. The same way in pigeon, all these three bones united to form a deep lateral acetabular cavity to which the head of the femur fits. In the same way, in case of rabbit also, the acetabulum is formed by ilium, ischium and cotyloid bones. Cotyloid bones, so into which the head of the femur fits. Finally, the last one is the cotyloid bone. Cotyloid bone, so it is a small bone present only in case of the rabbit, and it is absent in frog as well as the pigeon. In case of rabbit only, you can see a small a cotyloid bone which is present nearby the acetabulum. This is nearby the acetabulum. Okay. So with this, all this you need to give the comparative. Comparative anatomy is nothing but you need to give comparative account of the all these three. That is starting from the frog, that is the amphibia, pigeon, the aves, and the rabbit is the mammals. You have to give, by taking each character, you have to explain that particular character in all these three. Hope all of you follow. Thank you.